Afternoon, folks. Welcome back to the Cork Hurling Pod. I'm recording this on the 24th of August after round 2 of the club championship games. So it's a pod talking all things Cork Hurling. So in this episode, I kind of have split up into 3 sections. I'm not sure how long the episode will be, but we'll see. As usual, like, share, subscribe, do all you can do to push it and get it out there. I know the club game probably isn't as important it is for a lot of die-hard hurling people, of course it is, but it's not as popular as the inter-county game. But still, if you are interested in your Cork hurling, and you know people who are, send the pod their way. I'll gladly have them on as listeners. So in this section, or in this episode, I'll just do a quick 5 minutes at the start, talk about the Cork news, which basically is Rob Downeys' interview and Jerry Hussey leaving set up. And then the main bulk of the episode will be about round 2 of the club championship. And then the last section of the episode will just be on the minor, the under-16s, and the Harty Cup draw. So your underage stuff, basically. So we have a lot to get through. A lot going on in Cork hurling, which is great. A lot to talk about. We try to touch on all these things here on this pod. So we start with the Cork stuff. Rob Downeys was out there last week doing interviews for Clubber. I have no problem with him doing that. More power to the lad. If he can make a bit of money out of it, more power to the lad. He had his... The Echo had their kind of interview up first, and there was a quote in it, and I just threw my eyes up to heaven when I saw it, When I read the quote, I was like, Jesus, here we go again, And the quote was, when he was asked about the Galway game, he said, we watched it back. It's hard to know what went wrong. I was like, God almighty, what do you mean it's hard to know what went wrong? It's very easy to spot what went wrong in that game. Now, maybe he's just playing the game, and he doesn't want to give much away to the media, and maybe they know exactly what went wrong and what they didn't do right, but he just doesn't want to give it away, which is fair enough, They want to keep these things private and working them in private. That's fine. But if he's just going with the attitude, because it always felt like after Tipperary defeat last year, it always felt like in the media that they never dealt with it properly. We always got the impression that they kind of put it down as one of those things that just happened on the day, and the momentum went against them. It never felt like they dealt with the real issues, which were that we were destroyed tactically by Tipperary. We couldn't deal with the sweeper, and we collapsed mentally. And it just felt like they never tackled those issues. And I'm like, here we go again. He's saying it's hard to know what went wrong, but it's very easy to know what went wrong, That we were destroyed tactically by Galway. We couldn't deal with their blanket defence and their getting men behind the ball. And then we collapsed mentally again, I was always saying to him, Jesus, listen back to my episode, my podcast I did in it. I outlined 10 issues that day of what we need to work on. I was like, it's very easy to spot what wrong with that. So that quote kind of annoyed me when he said it. Hard to know what went wrong. It just smacks of 12 months ago when they never accepted what went wrong against Tipperary. And I'm like, here we go again. Are they accepting what the problem is here? Or are they just ignoring it and push it away like they did 12 months ago? And look where that got us, It kind of pissed me off, that quote. I have no problem with talking to the media. And fair enough, if he's playing the game, he doesn't want to give much away. We all saw it, Alan Connolly, when the stick he got when he was talking honestly about wanting to win everything. He got a lot of stick about it. So I understand if Rob Bowles doesn't want to give much away, but if he's honestly thinking they're not sure, it was just one of those things that went against him in the second half with momentum, I was like, Jesus, not again, That's going to get us nowhere, that attitude. Then he did his interviews, then he did one with, I listened to the one with Michael Verney had on the Irish Independent. I listened to that one, and he didn't really talk about it there. Like he said, he asked them, did they get together as a unit yet to watch back in the game? And he said, no, they hadn't. They just kind of watched it. A few of them afterwards, when they were drinking the next couple of days, whatever. They kind of watched it back then. So they hadn't officially got together yet to address it. So maybe you give them an excuse there. That they haven't got together with the management team yet. But it'll have to be reviewed. And this attitude, like it's hard to know where it went wrong, will have to be addressed. But just on the interview he did with Michael Verney, he did a couple of that's the only one I listened to. One of the other things that caught my eye was when he was talking about weights. And the whole conditioning thing, he talked about that he never really bought into it as an underage player with Cork, and I was like, that's the big problem with us in Cork. And I always had suspicions that we never bought into the S&C side of it. Our players did, and our management teams did, because there was always hurling first. You have to have the hurling, but it's no good just have the hurling these days. You have to be conditioned as well, and we have to be taken seriously from under 14 straight away. And that's what Limerick did, and look where they are now. I always got the suspicions that Cork didn't treat it seriously, and he kind of confirmed it there when he said, I didn't really take the weights in the gym that seriously when I was underage at Cork. And I'd say he wasn't the only fella. And I'd say that attitude then was carrying on at senior level as well. And now they're kind of realising that they have to. But even when he was talking about the weights, and he's realising he has to bulk up now, he kept saying that he didn't want to bulk up too much, because he didn't want to lose his mobility and speed, that there's a fine balance there. But geez, I'm looking at the Limerick guys, like, and they're all big and bulky, and they're still moving fast. No, they're still getting around the field. I'm kind of like, can he not be both? Can he not be big and strong, while also not losing his mobility and speed? Surely there's a balance there. There's a way of going about bulky up and not losing that explosive and speed, you know? As he kept saying he didn't want to be too big because he might lose his speed. But I don't know, I'm just looking at those Limerick guys and they're all big, but yet none of them have lost speed. So they're obviously doing something right with their S&C that we're not. And when you look at Rob, like, he's on about not losing speed. But, you know, I called this out about him. The last 2 games he's played in Croke Park have not been good. His mobility has been tested in the big open field in Croke Park, and he hasn't been able to get around. Like, Tipperary ruthlessly exposed him there in the half back line the last day. The All-Ireland finally couldn't get out to the wings, and then Galway did the same. He could not get across the cover in front of Rabbit the last day against Galway. He just did not have the mobility to get around. So I understand why he doesn't want to bulk up too much, but I'm just thinking surely there's a way that he can bulk up and keep his speed. But I just thought it was interesting when he said it on underage level that he wasn't big into the gym. I'm like, yeah, that's the attitude in Cork now. You know, they're the selectors and the management teams are pushing the hurlers, but they're not looking at the guys who are gym monkeys. You know, because they're just, I don't know. It's just, I just never felt it was as valued as it was in other counties, and now we're kind of realizing that it is. But we're behind the 8 ball already. It's like we're behind already, and a lot of our underage teams are smaller than the the underage teams we're coming up against. And I've said this constantly. And you look at the conditioning of the Limerick minors this year compared to our Cork minors, it was stark the difference, to be honest. And your man in charge of it, Aidan O'Connell, has a job to now getting that attitude in all the underage teams where S&C is of paramount importance. We can't have guys coming through with that attitude that they weren't big into the gym when they were underage level. You know, you have to be living in there to compete with the Clares and Limericks of this world and be ready to roll off the production line 18, 19, already conditioned. The other news then was Jerry Hussey. He's gone from the setup anyway. Like, it's either if he was pushed out or did he decide to leave himself. So if he was pushed out and Ben O'Connor decided for change, I'm delighted with that. You know, I did call for after we all kind of called for and Kieran Shannon was kind of vocal in his article about it, that we need to see change in the backroom setup. So if he has gone about changing, bringing in a new, sports psychologist instead of Hussey, and maybe bring in Cian O'Neill, that's kind of gone quiet now, then they are signs that he's willing to change and bring new guys in on board, and that's good for me. I can't complain about that. That's exactly what we wanted. But if it's a case that he walked, and he kind of said, Jesus, it's not worth it bringing out the Cork hurlers, you'd wonder, like, what kind of funding, is there lack of funding there, like, are we not valuing it as much as Limerick do with Currid, or is he just saying, Jesus, being in the Cork hurlers is bad for your reputation? It was the same with Gary Keegan. His reputation took a bit of a wallop the way our hurlers collapsed 2 years ago against Tip. And you could see he was worried about it because you never see that guy talk to the media, but he actually came out a few months later and did this media tour. He was on off the ball and all these things, and I was thinking he's doing that purposely now, Gary Keegan, because he's probably getting a bad reputation being involved with the Cork hurlers, and I wonder is Hussey thinking the same? Is he like, Jesus, get out of here? And you could see in some of his Instagrams, he'd make all these these videos. I don't like the guy at all, and I don't like the stuff he comes up with. But some of them then would be like comments in the comment section beyond, you didn't do that with the Cork hurlers, or you didn't do that with the Cork hurlers, and he'd just be like, he says he's the same response for all of them. He's like, check your DMs, so he obviously messages them something. I'd love to know what he's saying to them. But you could see he kind of doesn't like it, right, when they bring up the Cork hurlers in his comments. So maybe he decided to walk. But I nearly think it was Ben who decided for a change, and I think he's right. I don't think Hussey's the kind of guy we need in there. The kind of messages he pushes. Right, so that's it. That's the Cork Hurling news. Just a small bit that's going around. The Rob Downeys interview. It was a good interview. Like, most of his stuff is good, and he's a grand fella, and he comes off as a grand fella, and we love him. He does put his heart and soul on the line for Cork. Those 2 quotes just got me, though, when he's on about the weights, and when he said it's hard to know what went wrong. But that's just me overanalyzing. Could be me overanalyzing things as well. At least he did come out and talk and face the media eventually. Right, moving on to the club championships. And for me, it was definitely a case of the Empire striking back here. You could see with wait 1 second now. You had the Glen winning, you had the Bars winning, and SARS winning when they were all up against it. And they all needed wins. If they'd lost for more, they were gone. All 3 of them won. And you had Blackrock and Middleton keeping a 100% record, and it just smacks of what we've been saying all along with this Premier Senior Hurling Championship. Is it a 2-tier championship? Seems to be the same teams getting through all the time. You're Middleton, Blackrock, SARS, Bars, and Glen, and they all do seem like they might get through again this year. And the 6th team then will be Charleville, who do seem like they have what it takes to upset a few things and to be up there with the top dogs. But it just seems like the same teams are qualifying all the time from the top 6. And then there's the bottom tier then of like Father O'Neill's, Kanturk, Douglas, Newcestown, whoever comes up next year, Bright Rovers, these ones. It does seem like a 2-tier championship. And I've kind of felt that for a while. And the results kind of backed it up this weekend. I thought the refereeing was good from the games I saw. I was at 2 of the games live, the Premier Senior games, and I watched 2 of them on Clubber. I didn't watch the SARS and Blackrock games because they were kind of one-sided, so I gave those a skip. But I was at 5 games from Thursday, Friday, and I was at 3 on Saturday, but a long day of it Saturday. I was at 5 games, and I was kind of happy enough with the refereeing, to be honest. They're kind of letting it go a bit more this year, I think. The only one who was kind of fussy was the guy in the Klein Castlemartyr game. He had a few soft frees, but the rest of them I thought were good. And they let it go. One of the referees, right, was sticky in the Valley's Kilworth game. He was sticky in the hand pass and steps, and I have no problem with that. But the physicality side of it, I think the referees were letting it go a bit more, which is great to see, and I was happy with it. Now, the style of play that I'm seeing from a lot of teams, it's very like, I thought in Cork I thought about where do we go next there about 2 episodes back, and I asked the question, do we have the coaching ability in the county to coach the modern game? Because I was saying we'd have to go at the modern game, start moving the ball through the lines. And when I look at all the teams playing, they're all kind of playing similar hurling. But what it is they get numbers back behind the ball to outnumber the opposition on-ball, and then they win it, and they turn over and they work it to a free half-back then. And then the half-back will just lump it down the field into the forward line, and then there'll be an outnumbering on the other end, and the ball will come back up, long ball to the forward line again. It just seems like the teams, they're not using the short game. They're using the short game to a point to work the free man in the backs. And when the man gets the ball and he's free, his first option is to look long, direct all the time. None of the teams that I'm seeing are trying to work the ball through the lines, and none of them are running the ball. The only short game we see is to get it to spare man in the back line, and if he's free, then he lumps it down direct into the full forward line. We're still not moving with the modern game, and the more games I see, the less teams I do see playing the modern game. And it is a problem then when you get into county level. We're still playing this direct ball into the full forward line, which a lot of teams aren't playing, or a lot of the other counties have kind of moved on tactically that way. And then we are getting caught tactically in games then at inter-county level. That's just what I'm seeing, really, the style of hurling. Like, they're just hitting balls down top of 4-on-2s and 3s-on-2s, and then they're winning it and they're getting it out to free man, and then he does the same, lumps it along on top of it, outnumbering. None of the teams are effectively moving the ball through the lines. Maybe Charleville are getting there. You need to see more of it. Now, it probably is, if you're neutral like me going to games, it probably is better, a better contest to see balls being lumped along, because then you get to see fighting for the ball and contesting the ball, because a short game and the possession game can be it's not as good to watch. It hurts our inter-county teams because we're not good at working the ball short then tactically, but as a spectacle then it is better for the supporters because there's a lot more 50-50 balls being hit down the field, which is what we want to see. Because I remember watching 2 years ago, I watched the Piercy county final in Limerick. It was on TG Carr or something, and Jesus, that game I was kind of watching it and I was thinking afterwards, if this is the way hurling is going, it's going to be an awful spectacle soon, because both teams are doing the same thing. They're playing short ball out to the cornerback and he was giving it to the wing back, and they were trying to run through the middle, and all they were doing was running into a massive crowd of bodies then. So it was just then like it was a contest then. You either got turned over, or you got caught for travelling, or you got tackled and it was a free the other way. It was almost like you hit the ball short, run into the pile of bodies in the middle, and then the referee has the decision to make. Either travelling or it's a foul. It was like an awful spectacle. Neither team wanted to hit the ball long. They both wanted to go through the lines. And I just thought, geez, this is bad watch. But at least the Cork club teams, they do go direct. But it probably hurts us then at inter-county level, because we're not good at the short game, because none of our teams are effectively playing at club level. And I did say, is the coaching acumen there in the county to play the modern game? And for what I'm seeing, the games I'm at, it's not there. It is not there. And the first game I'm going to talk about, it was there for all to see really, is the Middleton and Newcestown game. Now, this is a good game. I was at Park Ring. It's a cracker. There's 2 years in a row now they met, and last year was a draw, and this year probably should have been a draw as well. The referee played like 1 or 2 minutes extra over the time. Newcestown are very unlucky. They were a goal ahead and they missed a bad shot to go 4 ahead with about 5 minutes left. But Middleton, they were just like a representation of Cork hurling in general. They did not have a clue how to combat the way Newcestown are playing, And Newstown set up exactly kind of like Galway did. They played Luke Meade as a sweeper at number 7, and they put one big man in around the house, Sean O'Donovan, who was excellent, by the way. He was fantastic, and they drew all their bodies out the field. So they kind of set up a lot like Galway did. And Middleton did not have a clue how to deal with it. And I was just like, Jesus, is this what the brains trust of Cork hurling are like? Because Middleton will be a big Cork team now, like they'd be one of the main hurling clubs in the county. We all know that. And I was like, if that's what these guys are producing to combat the modern game, we are badly stuck, because they just played into Newstown's hands, They let Sean O'Donovan in around the square in his own 1-on-1 against Tomas O'Leary Hayes, and he destroyed him, really. And Tommy O'Connell was playing to the back, and he did not get back and help him out, just like Rob Downeys didn't get back and cover on Rabbit against Galway. And then when Middleton could get the ball, they'd obviously have extra men at the back in the half-back line because Newstown drawn everyone out. They kept looking to go long top Connolly Han, and then they were just hitting the ball straight to Luke Meade or outnumbering. And then Newstown were outnumbering Middleton in the forward line, and they were just being turned over. And I was like, Jesus, stop going long to Lehan and start working the ball short through the lines. You're totally outnumbered down there because Newstown have got all their numbers back. But they could not do it. And I said this about Middleton in the league final as well, that their short game was not good in the second half against Stars. And they had no short game to fall back on against Newstown here. They could not work the ball through the lines, and it was just killing them. They were just keep putting the ball along into contests where Newstown had the numbers and they had Luke Meade back. And once the long ball to Connolly Hand wasn't working, they were stuck and they were nearly sunk. And they kind of got out of jail, really. And I kind of called out on Twitter, and I had Middleton guys on to me on Twitter then saying, what are you talking about? We won the game by a point. But if you look at the talent in that Middleton team versus the talent in that Newstown team, it's no insult to Newstown. They're punching above their weight. Fair play to them, and they're boxing clever, and they're playing the modern game tactically. Fair play to them. But Middleton should be beating them by 10 points at least. And if they're not beating them by 10 points, they need to be asking questions, why? So if they bury their head in the sand and say, we got out of that by a point, and ignore the problems that are there, and there are problems there, they don't have any short game, and they're looking to go long to Lehan with everything, then they're going to get caught, Maybe not in Cork, now they mightn't get you past Stars, but if they get into Munster, they will get caught by a team who tactically play the modern game. Middleton were nearly like a representation of Cork hurling and a Cork senior team, how they couldn't play against Galway's system, and Middleton couldn't play against Newstown's system. I know they got out of the game. They got out of jail, really. The goal was they were 3 points down, and one player's out the field had a shot at goal, and he mishit it and dropped short, but it dropped properly for Ross O'Regan, and he caught the ball out in front of Luke Meade. It was a bad miss by Luke Meade, right? He should have got to it, and it was a great goal by Ross O'Regan, in fairness. But then the game was level, and I thought the referee would blow it up as a draw, which would have been a fair result. But there was a 50-50 ball, a schmozzle around the middle, and he gave a throw-in. I couldn't see this now. I was in the far stand looking across. I couldn't see it clearly. It just looked like Tommy O'Connell won the throw-in, and he charged up the line like the warrior he is. When the game was on the line, he came through. I'd be critical enough of him centre back. I'd like to see him midfield, but he's an outstanding player. That's not what I'm saying. When I'm critical of centre back, I see he's a great player, and he won him the game with that drive and run up the wing. But on Clubber, then they showed a replay, and it looked like the referee threw the ball right into his hand. It was actually crazy when you look at it. It was a 50-50, clash ball. And Newstown guy, he obviously wasn't ready or what, and he didn't throw the ball in properly, and he kind of threw it up high, and he threw it straight into Tommy O'Connell's hand. It was unbelievable when you think about it. You'd be really pissed off if you were Newstown. But Newstown, fair play to them, it was their football background, of course. They played the modern game, got loads of guys behind the ball, and Buckley played well in the half forward line, but a lot of regression. And your man, Sean Dunn, was outstanding in full forward. He's the best player in the field, really. Jeez, he's some paw, and I'm like, we've no guy in the Cork panel that can catch a ball like he can. He doesn't look, he doesn't pass the eye test physically. He doesn't look kind of athletic. He doesn't look the part. His hurling might be a bit slow, but jeez, he's an unbelievable paw on him. And he caused Tomas O'Leary Hayes fierce problems, and he caught a pile of ball in around the square. And he could have got more of a return. I thought he should have had a penalty in the first half, but the referee gave it free for it being outside the square. But Jesus, Cork could do well to look at a guy like him. He could offer you 15 minutes off the bench, catch a few puckouts. I know his hurling wouldn't be the best in the world, but there's no denying he's got some paw on him. And O'Leary Hayes kept trying to play him from behind. And because he's kind of got big shoulders then around him, you can't get around him And he kind of catches the ball out in front of him then, and O'Leary Hayes was trying to bat it, and he was getting nowhere near it. And Newstown did nutty, Middleton did nutty about it. They couldn't make any changes. They had no one else but back and full back. But they got out of jail. They're going to have to be better if they come up against that system again. We're going to have to, in Cork, we're going to have to think tactically smarter. Who went well for him? I thought Your man got 45 minutes. Owen Maloney, which is great to see. He was back, wing back. Saunderson and goal. Jesus, like his first 2 puckouts, he pucked straight to 2 Newstone guys for points, and he did it a third time, but the Newstone guy hit it wide. And it's just like, how the hell was this guy in the Cork panel for 2-3 years, you know? You look at Wilson at the other end for Newcestown, like, who was a Cork under 20 All-Ireland winner, a way safer pair of hands, like, a good head in him, like, he's probably the guy we should have been investing in. But yeah, they got out of jail, and they're through anyway, and they're fighting for first spot in Middleton. And Newcestown are kind of in relegation trouble now, but it's kind of harsh on them, because they deserve to draw out of it. But if they play like that, geez, that'd be hard to beat in the relegation playoff. Right, the second game I was at was the Bars Bright Rovers game. Bars were up against it here, but they were well over Bright Rovers, to be honest. I was quite disappointed in Bright Rovers. It was kind of not a facile victory, but you know, it was an easy enough win for them. I thought they'd be under more pressure in this one. They started with Jack Callan full corner forward, Ben Cunningham full forward, and William Buckley in the other corner. And they were going well, in fairness, at the start. They were motoring well, all 3 of them. And but then Jack Callan pulled his hamstring. He had to go off, kind of hit them. But they started Brian Hayes at the forward, which is like, I'm thinking, if you're the best full forward in the country, leave him at full forward. But from a Cork perspective, I'm thinking it's good to see him out in the half forward line. Give him game time there. That can only help us, you know, it'll make him more versatile. That he can be an option for us at the forward if we're in trouble in games. And it's great he's getting game time for the Bars at centre forward. From a selfish Cork point of view. But if I was a Bars supporter, I'd be saying get him back in around square, because he's the best full forward in the country. But I think they did it to get Ben Cunningham into the game, and he did play alright. Ben Cunningham, in fairness, he was better than he was the last day. Now, Brian Hayes was off injured at half time, which is a worry for them, and Jack Callan was off injured after 20 minutes. And, you know, they're a dual club, and you have the Callans playing with Castlemaine as well, so their recovery time is going to be minimum. Could come against them. Now, they're kind of coasting at half time, and then, Jesus, the Bars, they kind of collapsed in the third quarter. And the guy in front of me from Newstone was saying they did the same against Middleton, of course. They did not play it on in the second half. And it looked like they were not playing it on in the second half of the Bars. And Bright Rovers roared back into it. They got all the way back to 3 points, but then they gave away a bad goal. The third goal was a bad goal. The defender was coming out with it, and he gave it straight to one of the Bars forwards, and he buried it in the net. And it totally got him out of jail, because it looked like they were collapsing. Just like the Middleton game in the second half, they didn't perform at all. And I was like, Jesus, here we are with 5 Cork guys in the Bars team, and they're collapsing in the second half, like they did against Middleton. Here again against Bright Rovers, and was the same case against Cork against Galway. You know, and I know when you drill deeper down into that, that's not really fair, because it was only Brian Hayes and Damien Callan were playing against Galway, and Callan wasn't even playing in the second half, so you couldn't blame him for the second half collapse. And Brian Hayes wasn't playing in the second half here against Bright Rovers, but I was just kind of despairing. He's like, here's our Cork guys now dying in the second half of the game. But yeah, that goal really bailed them out of it, and then they dominated the last quarter then. For the Bars, so Bright Rovers had Brian Roach at the forward, and they put Kieran Doolan on him to man mark him, and geez, he destroyed him. Doolan absolutely destroyed Brian Roach, and it was a very impressive display, and his name must surely be in the window now for the Cork squad next year. I know he played the Munster League at the start of the year last year, but we definitely need to be looking at this guy again as regards a man marker, because he did a serious job in Roach, and Roach is trying to get his name in the window there, shop window of Cork, and that game will definitely stand against him. But Jesus, Doolan definitely put his hat in the ring for me, and another guy who looks the part. He looks like he's doing the conditioning work. It looks like he could be at home at county level. It's a very encouraging display for him. For me, he totally blotted Brian Roach out of it, and Brian Roach was the heartbeat of that team, and he just totally took him out of it. It was a real old school man marking job. He didn't care if he's clearing any ball, as long as Brian Roach wasn't getting on the ball, and it's great to see that selflessness. And they have Damien Callan, that team as well, so you'd have thought he'd be their first man marker. But the first guy they went to do a man marking job was Kieran Doolan, not Damien Callan, which is interesting really, because in Cork we'd be looking at Callan to a man marking job, but is this guy better at the man marking jobs? They played Damien Callan wing back then. He's kind of in front of me in the second half, and he spent the whole second half arguing with Selector on the sideline then. One of the Bar selectors about I don't know what he was arguing about, but I was like, he couldn't get into the game at all. Buckley was very good for him. He's really making Ben's decisions drop him. Kind of laughable at this stage, because he is playing very well. He played 2 good championship games now, and he does look a class apart in these games, which was always going to be the case, that guy, because he is a class apart at senior level, at club level. Classy player. Ben Cunningham went alright. He did alright. He was better than he was against Middleton. He was better, alright. He still dropped a few balls, spilled a few balls. There's still a lot of work for him there to do, as far as I'm concerned. As regards Bright Rovers, the Roaches are very quiet. Both of them had strapping on, Brian Roach's tie was strapped, and his brother's Owen Roach's knee was strapped, so I don't know how fit they were. But as I say, Brian Roach was destroyed by Doolan, and Owen Roach did okay. Like, he was marking. They put him full back on Ben Cunningham first, and they eventually put him on, what's his name, Buckley in the second half, because Buckley was destroying Cashman. He did alright, only, like, I just don't think he's the speed, that fella. Killian Thomas playing centre back, Brian Hayes, he's okay, like, I just don't see what other people are seeing with this guy. He's a good striker of the ball, he's a nice hurler, that's about it. You need to be more aggressive as a halfback, and you need to be dominating the air. I don't see that with this guy. I just see a guy who's good, mop up loose ball, and good use of the ball. We have loads of those hurlers in the teams. We need characters and tough guys, and I don't think that guy is the answer. A lot of people calling for him to get looked at next year. I don't see what they're seeing. So yeah, the Bars are back, basically. The next game, Glen Kanturk. I watched this one in Clubber. I was gutted I couldn't go to it live. It looked like the game of the weekend. It looked like a classic game. If all the Cork games are played at this level, we'd be happy. There's a lot of physicality in it. Kanturk didn't hold back, and they're a big team, so they shouldn't hold back. That's their strength, their physicality, and they gave the Glen plenty of it. And it looked like the Glen were gone. Like, it did look like they were gone. They were kind of goal down after the penalty. I thought they were done, but they battled back, in fairness, and they showed a bit of mettle. They showed a bit of steel, and I called out in the younger brigade to start leading that team. The Kenneficks and the O'Learys and the Downeys and Luke Horgan, these guys. And in fairness to Simon Kennefick and O'Leary, they both had great games. Especially Kennefick, for me, got some crucial scores from them that got him back into it. This really could ignite their season now. You could see how they celebrated, how much they wanted it at the end, that it was a big win for them. You had, what's his name? Rob Downey was marking Alan Walsh full back with a real box office stuff. See those two going at it, but they didn't get that much ball, unfortunately. You would like to see more ball going between the pair of them. Downey had one great catch in the second half, Rob, but he just ballooned it down the field straight to Kanturk guy, who then ballooned it back up the field between Alan Walsh and himself again, and Alan Walsh won it, in fairness, and stuck it over the bar. It was real box office stuff, those 4 or 5 minutes with those two going at it. Kanturk, like, I thought Brian O'Sullivan played well. He's having a good championship. He's the other guy, he's bulky enough. I just wonder, is he enough of an enforcer around the middle for us? Like, we were lacking a long range shooter all year for Cork since Decky Doughton's been out of the team. We never shot points from range against Galway to draw them out. And this is a guy who loves shooting from range and is good at shooting from range. And he's a good long range free taker as well. So that's kind of what he could bring to the table for us, long range shooting. And he's good on the ball. And he's having a good championship. And he's for a lot of scores. So we'd like to see him get a bit league time next year. Alan Walsh did alright. They're unlucky, really. Kanturk were unlucky not to get out of that with a win. They're very close, like. They were very close to the Glen. And it was a cracking game. The other game I watched in Clubber was Douglas and Charleville. I don't know what to say about Douglas, really. Like, I watched their footballers a week beforehand in Park Arena. I was at that game, and they just collapsed in the second half against the Bars. They didn't show any fight at all. And here they were in this game with 10 minutes to go, it was level. And they just, not that they collapsed, like, but Charleville went and took the win. They wanted it more than Douglas. That's all you can say, really. Or maybe they were fitter in the last 10 minutes. I don't know. We had, what's his name? Dominic Foley was in the Examiner today. It was a great piece, and he was saying how their coach, James Kennedy, he was saying it's a disgrace that he's not been looked at by Cork teams and the other inter-county teams that are getting onto him already. Well, here we are now with a great coach in our county, and we're behind the 8 ball already. We haven't spotted this guy needs to be involved, and it will be a disgrace if he's not getting involved, because what those two lads are doing, James Kennedy and Dominic Foley, what they're doing at Charleville, they're working wonders there, and it needs to be rewarded, and we need to get them involved in the Cork setup. Both of them, ideally, but definitely James Kennedy, because they are one team who are trying to work the ball through the lines, and it suits Fitzgibbon as well, because he can run onto hand passes and boom over there from 100 yards. He got some spectacular points this year, Fitzgibbon. I don't know what Douglas are going to do. I don't know. Jesus, like, they're looking over the shoulder at relegation trouble again now. It's been an issue for them. And the other games then, Hugh Stars beat Newtown handily enough. They had a lot of wides. I didn't see the game now, but I just read the article. Colin McCarthy's back for them, and so is James Sweeney. So they'll be getting stronger and stronger as the championship goes along, and they'll still be my favourites, to be honest. And Blackrock beat Father O'Neill's now, who'll be looking at relegation playoff. Robbie Cotter played well. He's the kind of guy, he said this in the very first episode of the year, how he's disappointed. This guy was off the panel. He's one guy who was disappointed, was kind of knocked off there. He's top scorer from playing the championship now. But he's just more of the same, really. He's a dangerous inside forward. He makes good runs. He's big and strong. He's athletic. He's doing the gym work. But they're not the kind of guys we need. We need half forwards who can win the ball. And we need workers around the middle. He's not going to offer that. He's just another dangerous inside forward. We've loads of those. He's more of the same, really. We already have Buckley there and Barry O'Flynn there and Alan Connolly and all these guys. He's nearly better than Alan Connolly at this stage where he's playing. He's always better from Blackrock than Alan Connolly. Yes, that's Premier Senior. It was definitely the Empire has struck back. I think we're going to see a lot of the same teams through to the quarterfinals. It's going to be a battle between Blackrock and Middleton then to see who gets first seed through to the semi-final, which can often be a poison chalice, as you well know. Just on the other games I was at, I was at the Valley Rovers Kilworth game Thursday night. Park Inn. It was nice to have a game on Thursday night, something to go to. Valleys look strong athletically. They're organised, they're hungry. You can see that in the sideline as well. You know, they're shouting non-stop and their subs are all standing in the line, geeing up the team. I'd say they looked at Ballinhassig winning the Premier Intermediate last year. They're neighbours and they're saying, why can't we do the same? They do look hell-bent on doing it this year. There's a bit of a drive about them, you know. I thought Kilworth's hurling was a bit sharper. It just, the boys worked them down. They ground them down, Valleys. They outworked them. They were strong, they were physical, they hunted in packs. Their work rate was better than Kilworth's, especially their conditioning. What else about that game? Well, I don't know, I won't get into that. The next game I saw then was Carrigtwohill and Courses. Carrigtwohill looked handy. We all know they're handy. That's the reason why they're playing Division 1 hurling in the league. And their touch was good. They hit a lot of wides. There was a pile of wides in the Valley Rovers Kilworth game. It kind of ruined the game. There's so many wides. There was a tricky wind blowing down into the Blackrock end. And it was the same in the Carrigtwohill Courses game. Carrigtwohill had a pile of wides. And they missed about 4 or 5 goals. They could have won that game by about 20 points. We know they're missing Sean Walsh. Patrick Walsh was good. He had a good first half. But James O'Cahy was their best player corner forward. He was outstanding. He scored something like 9 points in play, especially in the second half. Jeez, his touch was razor sharp. He scored some classy points against the wind. You know, he's kind of in there on his own, and they were just putting the ball down to his corner. They had himself Patrick Walsh both in the same wing, and they're putting a lot of ball across that wing, and 2 of them are running riot there. 2 good hurlers. I know they're missing Sean Walsh, but they still have enough to get over the line. They still have enough to win this championship, I think, anyway. Looking in the last day, if they can shout out their shooting. Matthew Barrett was playing centre forward. Just a on Cork watch here, guys, if you look out for. He was playing centre forward for them, like, he was only alright. He struggled to get into the game. He was a lot better from last year in midfield. I'd like to see him back up midfield. I know for Cork, like, he was playing full back around 20s this year. So obviously I'd love to see him back in the full back line, because we have nothing coming through in the full back line. But he's probably more of a middle-eight player, right? Like a runner in midfield or half back. He did okay. He took off in 1 or 2 runs, alright. You could see the speed he has. You'd like to see him use his speed more. Like I keep saying about our senior hurling panel, we have speed, we never use it. If I was coaching this guy, I'd be telling him to run at teams constantly. And he only did it once or twice in the Courses game. He needs to run at teams more, use that speed. You can see he has it. There's a lot of conditioning to do, a lot of bulking up to do. He's still a bit light. He still has a bit to do, I'd say, to get on the Cork panel next year. I'd say he could be thereabouts because of his versatility, though. Justin O'Kay did alright. He got a bad pull on his knee, right? They had to take him off 15 minutes to go. It's another injury they have to deal with. And as I say, James O'Cahy was the best for them. Carrigtwohill, and I still think they'd be hard to beat. Of course, he's like, they got a draw in the first game. And, they looked like they didn't have much, really. That they were in relegation trouble last year, and it could be the same again this year. Their goalie was very good. He put off a pile of saves. They're kind of reliant on Sean Toomey, like, and he can't move. He looks like he's crippled with injuries. He's been very unlucky with injuries over the years. He was never blessed with pace anyway. But they had him in for forward a few times, and the ball went in long, and he just couldn't get out the ball. It's like, he just didn't have the pace, unfortunately. I'd say his body's taken some whack with injuries over the years, which is a pity to see, considering that guy was a serious underage player and was on the Cork senior panel. He did catch a few balls right in the half-hour time. But they're going to be up against it to stay up now in the next couple of years, I'd say, Courses. And the last game I was at then was the Castlemartyr-Cloyne game. I thought there might be a bit of fireworks in this one, physically, being near neighbours. It was an okay game. Castlemartyr kind of looked like they had it won with about 10 minutes to go, even 5 minutes to go. They looked like they were kind of in control, and they had it won with Cloyne. Doing what Cloyne do, they battled back and they took the game to death then. Tough out, like, They went and grabbed it. They had James O'Brien playing, who was a Cork country this year. It's his first year out, playing adult level. He couldn't get into the game at all, really. He does look physically like he's doing the gym work, but he just they couldn't get him on the ball, couldn't get him into the game. He had a horror show at the freeze. He was on the long range freeze. He missed most of them. They had to take him off him. He didn't do much, but it's his first year playing adult hurling, like, so you give him a break there. They'll need to get more out of him as the championship goes on. They had Adam Lee came on as well. He was a Cork minor as well a couple of years ago. He'll be under 20 again next year, I think. I think he was in John Myler's team. He only came off the bench. He looked strong. He looks like he's doing the gym work. I don't know why he's not starting. I don't know what's going on there. He does look like he's worth his place there. He got a couple of points from play. So it'll be interesting to see will he be in the Cork setup next year. He'd have to win back his place at Clyne first. He did look alright for me. He did look alright. Yeah, and Clyne, Jesus, hard bet. They're a hard bet, tough team. Right, so there were the games I was at. There's a lot of draws then. Down the divisions, which shows you the competitiveness and equalness of the divisions down long. It's just the top division, Kevin Dunn kind of said this before as well, but the other divisions, you always have a team coming down from the grade above, and you have a winning team coming up, and it kind of keeps the whole thing even and competitive, and it drives the standards in the lower grades, and they are working. It's very even down there. But at Premier Senior, then you've no one coming down from a grade above to make it stronger, and it's kind of hurting. It's the same teams all the time up Premier Senior. Because the other age grades, or the other grades then seem to be very even. There was a pile of draws. You had Carrigaline and Ballymartle drew, neighbours, and a derby there, and you had Kilbritton and Bandon drew. So none of them took the bragging rights. None of those four in those derbies. And Watergrass Hill had a good win over Castlelyons, and they're going to be thereabouts. I'd say they'd be nearly favourites at this stage. Blarney and Watergrass Hill. And I wouldn't write off Carricktool either. The Senior A is always a good championship. Alright, okay, we'll move on to the underage section. So the minor, you had that game the other night in the Piercing and the Glen. Big crowd at it apparently. I didn't get to see it. What's his name? This guy on Facebook, right? Had a few shots up of it. He's from Aaron's Own. He does a load of covering games. He's kind of a bit like Buff Egan, but he puts up scores. I can't remember his name there now. So I saw some of the scores. I'd say the game was ruined by the sending off. And then when they got word of Ballincollig, Carrigaline drawing, they might have taken a bit of a sting out of it. But the Glen won, beating the Piercing, so they're through to the semi-final. And you have, who was it? So you have Blackrock and the Piercing on one side, and you have the Glen and Milton on the other side. So you have real traditional teams there, but you have 3 city teams there, which is only good for hurling. Good for hurling as far as I'm concerned. I'm not from the city at all, so I'm not pushing city teams, but it is good to see city teams going well. But you always hear the old adage, that when city teams are going well, Cork Hurling is going well. When you look at that age group, that under 18 age group, they won the Munster under 17 championship last year. Inter-county. They probably should have won the All-Ireland. They threw away a bad game against Clare. It is no coincidence for me that we had a strong minor team last year when you see that there's 3 city teams through to the under-18 championship semi-final this year of that same age group. It can only help. And I'm looking at the under-16 results. We played in the under-16 development squads tournaments, and our Cork team lost to Galway by 124 to 12 points. They're hammered out the gate. And if you look at under 16 level, the Premier 1 semi-finals, you had Ballinor versus Ballincollig, Ballyhay Milford versus Middleton. So you had no city teams through to the under 16 Premier 1 championship semi-final. And then you look at the Cork team then, with no city teams going well, and they're absolutely hammered by Galway. But I'll get into it now in a second. But just as there's that Premier 1 semi-finals, Blackrock and the Piercing played last year in the Premier 2, I'm sure, and they kind of hammered the crap out of each other. So that could be worth going to see. There was a big fight that day. And then you've Glen Middleton. Stars will be disappointed they lost to Middleton. They looked like they were in control of that game, and they gave away a goal at the last puck of the game at home. And they Constantine got off injured, who'll be their big player, who'll probably be one of the best players in the championship. So he's a bit of a loss to them, and Stars will be disappointed because they won the under-16 Premier 1 2 years ago. That same team. They beat the Glen in the final, and here they are now, getting knocked out in the group stages. So it's a disappointment for them. The Glen, Michael Ty Brosnan scored 5 or 6 points, I think, against the Piercing. He plays at the forward. I'd like to see him back centre back, because that's where I think he'll end up for Cork in the half back line. But he could do a job for us in the half forward and going forward, who knows. And Craig O'Sullivan's going well for the Piercing, but his freeze didn't go well. Something he's going to have to tidy up on. Right, and getting to that under 16 game. So our development squads were out last weekend or the weekend before. And Galway in the All-Ireland semi-final played Cork, and it was Galway 124, Cork 12 points. And I'm like, Jesus, how are we that far behind the likes of Galway already? This is only under 16. And we're that far off Galway. It doesn't bode well for next year at minor level as far as I'm concerned. And I'm kind of thinking, how are we that far behind them already? How is this happening? And you'll always hear this stuff about, Galway they're a red hot under 16 team. They've been good all the way up or whatever. This excuse is always thrown out. But I'm kind of like, when do we ever have a red hot Cork minor team? When do we ever have a red hot Cork underage team that comes through and does what Galway are doing? And don't give me this rubbish that Galway are red hot because they only beat Waterford by a point or two in the under 16 final then. But for us to be losing 124 to 12 points is serious alarm bells ringing there for me. And we weren't super minor level last year. Year before we were okay on the Fergal McCormick, in fairness, and the 2 years before that, we were not good on the Myler, we were not good on the Paddy Murray, we were not producing good minor teams, and it looks like more of the same again next year. It's a big worry for me how you're getting hammered by that much by Galway on the 16 level. And if you look at the 4 teams, as I say, that are playing the Premier 1 under 16 county this year, Ballinora, Ballincollig, Ballyhay, Middleton, like, it's nothing against those clubs, nothing against them. They're doing the work, good on them. And there's a big population growth in Ballincollig, and there's a big population growth in Ballinora. So we want those areas going well, but we also want the city teams and the traditional hurling clubs in there as well. And I don't know, they're not living under 16 level anyway. And Kilkenny won the under 15, the Arabon, and Limerick won the 21st and under 14. So we had very little success, I'd say, at development squads level. So we're going to have to look at that. Then again, we've been saying that for a long while. Oh, we need to be looking at that. Yeah, it's a worry for me. Jeez, that's when I saw that result. 124 to 12 points, like, and you'll hear people going in, oh, that Galway under 16 team is supposed to be red hot. They're supposed to be very good. But then we never the same with Cork, like. We never hear that. We never hear of a good Cork team coming through, whatever it is. I don't know. Are they divide the Cork team into 4 teams on the 14 level? You'd wonder, is it working, like? And I think they might have 2 teams under 15, that sort of way. I don't know, is it working? They need to look at everything now at this stage. But the teams who have come through at minor level, like, they're not. They are behind the top teams. They are behind. We saw that this year at minor level, getting hammered by Tipperary and Galway and Limerick. Right, the last bit. We're flying along here. Might get done in 40 minutes. We have the Harty Cup draw. It's not a good draw. Jesus, when I saw it, I was like, God. Like, these teams at Dean Ryan level, it was 2 Cork teams got to the final. It was Middleton CBS and Le Mans got to the final of Dean Ryan 2 years ago, year before last. So you'd be thinking now that these 2 could be the strongest in the competition and that they'd be thereabouts, you know. So it'll be interesting to see how their development has gone the last 2 years. But they got a stinker of a draw. It was an awful draw they got. Like, it's Middleton CBS, the Man, the AG, the Man, whatever you want to call them, Ardskillreash, who are always really strong, and last year's winners, Nina. It really is the group of death, like, and you could easily see the 2 Cork teams not get it out, which would be huge, like, because we maybe bad for Cork Hurling now. They both might get out, you wouldn't know, but I'd have my doubts. Like, Middleton CBS should be strong, but God, Ardskillreash and Nina, they're going to be tough games. Like, you could easily see, I was looking at the draws, you could easily see no Cork teams get out of their groups, you know, and the shit would hit the fan then, by they'd be off of war then, go on the county board meetings about what they're doing at schools level. You could easily see it this year. Group 3 Christians got Flannans, you know, that's tough. They got Templemore, that's tough. And then Hospital, who they should be beating. But you could easily see them losing the Flannans and Templemore and knocking it out of the group. And then Coleman's are in Group 4, and they're probably the weakest of the 4 teams you have in there. They are probably the easiest group, but then you can see them not get out because they're not that strong. They have Tulla, Blackwater, and Castletroy. So yeah, we were hopeful going into this year that Middleton and the Man might do something, but if they had gotten easier groups, you'd be confident they could get into knockout stages. But geez, that group now, it's a real stinker. It's a group of death, really. You have Middleton, the Man, Ardskillreash, and Nina, last year's winners. God, like, I wouldn't be surprised if no Cork team got out there, and they would be hassling then if no Cork teams get out of the group. Probably rightfully so. Yeah. Well, I think I've gotten through everything there. Close to 40 minutes, I think. I touched my Cork news, I went through the club games. Yeah, and I touched on the underage stuff then, the minor and the under 16. Yeah. Alright, like, share, subscribe, get it out there. Back to work soon, unfortunately, for us. But yeah. Enjoy the embers of the summer, the very last week of the summer. Enjoy it, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Do what you can do. We'll see you guys. When will I be back? I'll probably be back after round 3, which is another 2 weeks' time. I'll probably be back then with round 3 games. Right, Slán.